Good evening. My name is Stephanie Bishop. I'm one of the information officers on the Shelly fire. The current acreage is 15,232 and 3% contained. This evening we're going to do an operational update as well as some information regarding our weather. I'd like to bring up our operations section chief, John Frederick and John Owings.
Hi, good evening. John Owings and John Frederick giving you the operational update. So a couple nights ago, as you all know, we experienced a significant amount of growth on the fire as it moved down and jumped across Patterson Creek and got up on this ridge that was coming off of Whiskey Butte. That's where we saw most of our growth, as well as a little bit back up in here, up above Kidder Creek, as it started to challenge up over into Mill Creek. And then we got a break from the weather, as after that significant amount of growth, our resources were able to get up into our main area of concern that evening was that ridge just south of Patterson Creek. We took direct action with bulldozers, hand crews, and following them up with engine crews stretching hose. And we were able to secure this edge right here from this area right here. Is called Drop Point 24, and picked it up and came all the way back in and tied it back into that main ridge within about 12 hours. So that was some really good effort from all of our firefighters in there, which really kind of locked off for the time being the fire coming down toward Etna. So over the last couple days, with weather permitting, in between thunderstorms and heavy down rain, our resources were poised and ready to engage as soon as they could safely do so. So we've got folks pretty much all around from the top of Kidder Creek. We've got hand crews and bulldozers working both to the north of Kidder Creek as well as to the south of Kidder Creek to secure the main fire's edge going direct along the fire line. Also up around here, just to the northwest here, it slopped over a ridge down toward Mill Creek, and resources were able to come up out of Mill Creek and engage on this to keep the fire from going down into Quartz Valley area. We've got a lot of that line in, and we're securing that, having some really good success in holding that, and now we're starting to plummet with hose lines to be able to begin that mop-up stage. Coming back around over here, over on the ridge on the north side of Kidder Creek, where we've been conducting direct line construction with hand crews and bulldozers and following them up with hose lines, able to secure most of this edge up in here and also bringing it back down into Kidder Creek there. Moving down further down into southern Kidder Creek area was kind of the same story. We were able to, as we explained in the last community meeting, we were doing some tactical firing, just keeping up with the fire as it was coming down this way and just getting ahead of it off our main control line. We were able to bring that down and put that pretty much to bed in Kidder Creek proper there. Coming back down over to Patterson Creek, same story. Resources are engaged in securing that line and now mopping up interior and keeping it from progressing further down into Patterson Creek. And as I said, with this growth here, we were able, and with the weather permitting, we were able to get resources in to kind of lock this off. And currently, we've turned the corner off of this ridge from Whiskey Butte, and we've got resources going direct on direct line construction with bulldozers and hand crews, and we plan to follow that up with hose lines. Around the rest of the fire, not much growth at all through here, and up over on the back side of the PCT, the fire is still staying put. Where we have resources engaged coming up from right around the Mule Bridge area and going up the north right-hand fork of the North Fork of the Salmon River and coming back down toward the point of origin of the fire and looking for opportunity and engaging in suppressing that fire to keep it from moving further to the west up in this area and as far as along Razor Ridge too. So with the resources coming both this way and as we plan to put folks to come and engage up that way, that's our overall plan for success there. But overall situation looked really good, and I'll pass it to John.
Good evening, John Frederick, Operations Chief. Right now I'm just going to go over again some map terminology. Looking at the map, we have these blue squares. So those are what we call drop points. Drop points are an area that we identify on our map of an area out on our fire ground that we can either store equipment or have a meeting location. So also looking at these purple circles, those are helospots. So definitely in the Klamath on this incident, very rugged terrain. So a lot of the roads do not get to where we want to go. So we take helicopters, we have guys go around and identify heli-spots where they can land, and then we can eventually shuttle troops into those spots. So those are the purple circles, and we have some other circles with water. These are water sources. Our black X's are all completed dozer lines. So once again, we try to utilize the dozers on our ridge tops. That's where we try to hold our fires. And then we have some other contingency lines. Road, anything that says R is where we utilize road as a containment line. So let's talk about fire weather. Let's talk about the last few days and the conditions of the fire. So we've had red flag warnings over the last few days, and we've had mild conditions in our fire activity. So with the red flags warning, it was for dry lightning. So when we have these conditions, we have dry conditions. Over the last 2 weeks, we've had extremely hot temperatures, very low humidity, very dry out there. So with our fuels ready, we could see some very rapid fire growth with thunderstorms. So not only is there dry lightning opportunities out there, but with these thunderstorms come very erratic winds. They're called outflow winds. So as they move through an area, the winds can shift and be extremely erratic and very unpredictable. So over the last few days, we've been trying to secure the line with the cloud cover. The cloud cover takes away the solar heating from the sun and allows those fuels to kind of be a little bit more damp. So with those conditions, we take that opportunity. So my partner here talked about going direct on a lot of this fire's edge. If I would say about a week ago, we would not be able to get on that fire's edge. The fire activity was extremely too high, and we aren't able to get in and go direct in those conditions. So as the conditions change, we're able to get in there and go direct. So once again, we got lucky. We had some rain come over the incident today, and that helps us out. That allows us to get in there, get right on the fire's edge, and be really productive over the last few days. So I appreciate you guys joining in with us. Continue to comment so we can answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Next up, we'll have our incident meteorologist, Jonathan O'Brien.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Jonathan O'Brien. I'm an incident meteorologist trainee here on the Shelly Fire. So give some updates here with regards to the weather, and I'll kind of rehash a little bit of what Ops just talked about. Heading into this weekend, there was a lot of concern with regards to the weather. We had several different concerns that we were looking at, and we saw some of those materialize on Saturday. A very hot, dry, unstable day. That was the day where we saw significant pyrocumulus development. We saw significant fire growth. Very active to extreme fire behavior under those very hot, dry, and unstable conditions on Saturday. Heading into Sunday and today, the concern then shifted, like was just talked about, to lightning potential. And we have seen these thunderstorms develop both yesterday and today. And they have presented some challenges in terms of lightning, which is a big interference to firefighting operations, both ground and air, as well as outflow winds. There have been some of those gusty and erratic outflow winds observed as well. So there have been challenges, but the thunderstorms have also brought a lot of opportunities over the past couple of days. Yesterday we saw a lot more cloud cover, like they were talking about. We got that solar heating out of the equation. The humidities came up. Similar story today as the storms developed this afternoon. We saw not only some increasing humidities, but quite a bit of precipitation as well. And so the combination of precipitation, which is a little bit spottier, but that increase in humidity, which was more widespread, led to some much more moderated conditions for crews in the field to put some really good work in on the fire over the past couple of days. So a little bit of luck with the thunderstorms being as wet as they were, and that really ended up working in our favor despite the hazards that do exist with the storms. As we look forward into the rest of the week, we are still going to have some challenges with regards to the weather. The first of those is going to come tomorrow, where we do expect a little bit of a wind event. We're expecting a southerly wind event, particularly tomorrow during the afternoon hours. We're going to see winds increase pretty dramatically towards the noontime, 1 p.m. hour, likely looking at sustained winds for much of the area, 20 to 30 miles per hour, and some of our south-facing slopes and our ridge lines likely going to be seeing wind gusts in the 35 to 40 mile per hour range, which is a good deal higher than the winds that have been experienced on the fire for most of its duration. So there is going to be several hours of elevated fire weather conditions tomorrow afternoon when you combine those winds with the continued warm and dry conditions we're going to be seeing. And then as we head through the rest of the week, we're going to kind of fall back into that warm to hot and dry weather pattern that we had been in for a couple of weeks, really, leading into when this fire first started and grew over its first several days. We're going to get back into one of those warm to hot and dry patterns with kind of daily breeziness that's driven by the very complex terrain that we have in this area. A lot of terrain features out there that will channel the winds, especially during the afternoon hours when we're getting that maximum heating. So still some challenges to work through weather-wise over the next couple of days, but thanks to some of what we've seen weather-wise the past couple of days, we do go into it in a much better spot than we were just a few days ago. And that's the end of the report for weather.
Thank you. Next up, we'll have our agency administrator, Natalie Kelly.
Good evening, everybody. Natalie Kelly, agency administrator for the Forest Service. First of all, I just really want to say thank you to the communities that have allowed us to be in this space for our emergency responders. I know these last 12 days have just been really impacting to the communities and the critical values at risk. And I just appreciate as a citizen of 19 years here in this county that you've been so welcoming to everybody and so kind. So just appreciate that. Other thing I wanted to address is why we're here. Why are we doing it virtually tonight? Virtual was the best option. We are going to move back into being in person here on Wednesday and continue that approach. But with the rains, and we have California Incident Command Team 6, CAL FIRE Incident Command Team 6 that just came in today and providing some additional horsepower there, and our teams. We're just really capitalizing on these cooler conditions, keeping folks out in the field, and so appreciate you just allowing us to give these updates tonight in this format, but we will get back to in person. Thanks again for everything.
Thank you. Next up, we're going to have a word from Sheriff LaRue.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate this moment to be able to kind of communicate with you and just talk about things that are going on out in the field. First, want to acknowledge just all of the support that we've had from the community over the last several days. I know it's a lot. We recognize folks, their frustration, and we know that they want to get back home, and that is our ultimate goal, is to get people back home safely. And that requires us to collaborate with law enforcement, fire, and others that support our efforts to get people back home. So every day we look at a map and we talk about the different things that are occurring inside the fire perimeter and then around the surroundings. And that dictates what we can do as far as downgrading evacuation orders to warnings, or if we need to increase them. So just recognize it's a daily thing that we do, because we don't want people to be out of their homes for any longer than possible. So just recognize that. We ask that people just be patient with us. We are trying as quick as we can to get people back home. One of the concerns that we have when we look at this map, just so people understand, is we look at what ifs. What ifs drive a lot of what we plan. Because what could happen is we don't want to evacuate people and then bring them back into a zone only to then re-evacuate them. For us, it can take up to 4 hours to evacuate an area, and we have limited resources and we have limited personnel, and we can't afford to put people back in risk when we could foreseeably see a time where people might be in a dangerous place. So just understand that we spend a lot of time thinking about this. We don't want people to get in a place where if we had a wind event, it would drive the fire into where their homes are, and we just wouldn't be able to sleep at night, honestly, knowing that. So we look at the map every day, and we try to see what we can cut, what we can rezone, and what we can downgrade. So just I want everyone to know that that is on our minds all the time. And as soon as we can do that, we will make that action and get people back home. I ask that people respect the checkpoints that we have, the traffic control points. We have road closures for a reason. The roads contain lots of different fire personnel, but it's also unsafe to be in there. And we can't have people in those areas because they're in evacuation orders. So please respect that. Like I'd mentioned before, we had some incidents of people running those roadblocks, and they were arrested. And that's what we will do. If you run the roadblocks, you will go to jail. There's no negotiating that. You will go to jail. We can't afford to compromise the scene. We can't afford to compromise firefighter personnel and law enforcement because you decide to commit a crime. So remember, the checkpoints, they're there for a reason. Respect them, and we will get you back into those as soon and as safely as we can. Today, so we've been doing the Sheriff's Community Support Line, and that's sort of a phone number that you can call and request escort to your home to retrieve things, to check on things. It's had great success, and I appreciate everyone's support with that. Today we field 64 phone calls, and we were able to get people back into their homes to take a look at things. We've also had our search and rescue team, which has been a huge help. They've been going actually door to door and just checking on people that are in warnings and seeing how they're doing. And so you may have seen them and just recognize we're trying to do whatever we can to accommodate people during this difficult time. And so we really want to be there. We want to meet you in the moment that we're having, and just be your guardians in this community, and make sure that we're taking care of you and your property. But remember, your life is more important than your property, and that is a main reason why we push these orders, and we push them very quickly. So again, we have established a phone number, and I will give that to you. It is 530-643-3660. Again, that is 530-643-3660. And that is the Sheriff Community Support Line. You call that number, and if no one answers, leave a message, and we will try to get back to you as soon as we can so that we can make accommodations to help you get into the location that you are trying to get to. And with that, I will pass it back. I appreciate everyone's, again, support, and we are doing everything we can to get you home safely and as quick as possible.
Thank you for that, Sheriff. Our next speaker will be from the Siskiyou County Office of Emergency Services, Director Brian Shoshone.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that. And so really I want to just touch and piggyback on what Sheriff had to say, because really great points. And the one thing we want to really press is for you, I know it's difficult sometimes, but know your zone. Genesis Protect is a great community-based program that you can go online and type in your address, and it will tell you your zone. I recommend, in order to do that, use your Sharpie and know your zone and put it right there on your refrigerator. If you need to, we have stickers, magnets, we can do all that for you. Great way to know that. So know your zone, know your children's school zone, your grandparents' zone, where you work, that's another zone, and unless you work at home, then don't. But those are really what we want to do, is make sure that you know your zone. So that's the easiest way. When we push an evacuation, we can do it quickly and push that number out, and then once that number's out, then you know that your zone is it's time to evacuate. So with that, also really want you to Ready Siskiyou Alert, how you get your alerts. That's how we're going to push them to you. Also, if there's an order, we're going to push that along with an IPAWS, which is Integrated Public Alert and Warning. You can go to pbswarn.org. You can see all of the IPAWS that Siskiyou County has been pushing. But we use that program because it alerts you whether you're elected into Ready Siskiyou. So you're going to get pushed that alert no matter what. but it pushes everywhere. So one of the things I did want to say tonight is that if you're driving through an area that has been alerted, it puts a pretty big perimeter out. So there was some, as the fire term, there was some slop over on the alerts into Etna. So that's one of those where if you know your zone, you're going to understand that you're not evacuating, and there's just that push at night. With that, if you need information for the fire, 211 is a great resource. We partner with them, NorCal 211. On your phone, just dial 211. Those folks over there are outstanding. They're going to have all the information that you're asking for. Just remember, we're feeding them that information, so that's a 24-hour line. Excellent. And then the EOC, Emergency Operations Center, that number is 530-643-3661. Again, that's 643-3661. We've had all kinds of questions on that one, so call them. Our folks love to answer those questions and get you in the right point you in the right direction. That's from 0700 to 7 p.m. every day. And then lastly, I have two more things to go over. I think one thing is watch duty. So watch duty, we spoke with them the other day. They worked on their servers. They worked on that kind of that integration, so they're dialed in that heat map. And I want to say to them, thank you. What a great partnership they are. They're pulling our information and pushing it to you in kind of that easy to read format. So big, huge thank you to those guys. And then lastly, just to kind of piggyback with what Sheriff said there, today was a really good example of why we use warnings and alerts. We had a significant incident on the other side of the county in the Paradise Fire. So watch that time lapse, and you can see the alerts going from warning to order so quickly. And that is a really good reason on why we do what we do, because the fire is going one direction, and then it turns, and then it turns again, and then it turns again, and then it does another little shoot off. Partners throughout the county were making those phone calls quickly. So that's a good example, and that was a small fire. Now imagine that. How many acres are we at with this one? Imagine that 100 times over. So just wanted to remind you of that. Again, know your zone and 211. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Final speakers are going to be Incident Commander Jerry Magana and Pat Russell.
Good evening. Just a couple quick comments, and then I have an introduction of a colleague to make. So one thing I want to point out is we've had some challenging weather, both favorable for us and that has challenges. But it's important to remember we have had success, and we will continue to have success. We are making good progress. We are going direct where we can. We are keeping that footprint of the fire as tight as we can because of all of our values at risk out there. We have our communities, we have cultural sites, we have timberlands, we have infrastructure all over, and we have the Marble Mountain Wilderness. All of those things are very important to us, and we're going to continue to keep on using the right tactic at the right place to keep the footprint of this fire as small as we can. I would like to introduce a colleague of mine. Like I said, this is Chief Gagne. He is the incident commander of CAL FIRE Team 6 that is in unified command with us now. Chief?
Good afternoon again. Name is Jeremy Gagne, incident commander of Incident Management Team 6. I can't echo enough the collaboration and cooperation that's been happening thus far in the Siskiyou unit with the OES and the sheriff, the KNF, and obviously the Team 12 folks that have done a phenomenal job of really putting this the work in to have this fire hold in the current footprint. Weather has been a blessing. However, we can't always count on the weather. And for those of you that are local, the KNF is a special forest. There's a lot of terrain, topography, heat, and a lot of things that don't necessarily go our way all the time. So the effort and the work that these folks have put in thus far is the reason we are at the success that we're at today. So without the collaboration and cooperation of everybody in the room that has already spoken, we wouldn't be where we are. It is important for you as the public that you're informed. We do our best to give you the most current and up-to-date information as it becomes available. But we always want to make sure that information is current and valid. We don't want information out there that's not correct. So we're always going to validate it before we push it out to you so that you have the latest and greatest information. So be patient with the process. Let us work through, as the sheriff said, checking on the daily of getting you back into your homes as soon as possible. We're going to do our best to protect you, the citizens of Siskiyou, and anybody that's traveling through the area. So again, be patient with us. We will work through the process, and if you allow us to get to the end, you will be in a better place than you are today. So thank you.
Thank you. And right now we're going to go ahead and try to see if there's any questions online that we can answer.
Good evening. We have a couple questions. The first question is going to be for the sheriff. They want to know, how do you make the decision to put an evacuation either in a warning or an order?
It's a great question. Okay, so it really is about the threat and how imminent it is. So if I like just Brian actually mentioned this earlier, the Paradise Fire that started on the other end of the county, off of Ager Road. So that was a fire. It was quick spreading. When you listen to the dispatch, it was a moderate to high spread. And so that indicates to me it's going to keep going. It's going to take off. The potential is there, and we will throw out an order right away because there's just a lack of time. So warnings might be, it's basically get ready. It could change into an order. So it really is about where is the fire, what is it doing, and what is its potential in that moment.
Perfect. Thank you. The next one's going to be for an operations section. The question is, has there been any structures that have been damaged or destroyed on this fire?
Happy to report that there have been no structures damaged or destroyed at this point.
We have another one for you if you just want to stay up there.
Sure.
The next question is, can you explain the structure defense or structure protection groups that you have in place?
Okay, so while we have firefighters engaged in suppressing the fire, going direct or indirect, if there's a threat to a town, community, or structures, we bring in specialized fire engines to come in and prep around the structures, remove a lot of the fuel that's going to carry fire to the structures, and then as the fire gets there, if it's safe to do so, they will stay there and defend the structures with the fire engines and the firefighters.
All right. Let me see here. There's a lot of thank yous on behalf of the community to all of you guys. That's all we have that I can see. It's looking like we don't have any more, so thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will be doing another community meeting in person Wednesday evening. Location is to be determined, and that will be at 7 p.m. So hopefully you'll join us in person. Thank you.